Chiefs, the only team in New Zealand, Aotearoa Super Rugby, without a win. And the Hurricanes keep up their recent trend of getting wins over the Chiefs with a 25-18 win in Hamilton. That game was pretty ugly. I feel like at lots of periods, lots and lots of drop ball. The conditions didn't seem that conducive to fine rugby. But man, there was a lot of ball hitting a lot of grass in this one. And yeah, she was a bit of a tough watch at times. But as has liked to be in Super Rugby Aotearoa, it still finished a close one, which is nice to see. Like, you can kind of take 50 minutes of tough watching if it's going to have a bit of payoff at the end. It could have had a bit of a cliffhanger ending. It still ended up being the Hurricanes relatively comfortable at the end, but the Chiefs were in with a sniff to send things to golden point at the death, which kind of saved this game if you are looking to go back and watch it. It actually started pretty quick out of the blocks in terms of the first try. Van Fake got the try for the Canes. Now, there's not many times where you look at it and say, my 70-year-old dad could have scored that try. But he maybe could have scored that try because the Hurricanes, after a period of pressure, just had numbers to absolutely burn. And kind of fittingly, the pass that hit Van Fake hit the ground twice before he picked it up. So he did well not to knock it on, I guess. But he had time. That's how much space he was in. He had time to let the ball bounce twice before picking it up and then going over the line. So yeah, he won't score many easier ones than that, and it was a good conversion to make it 7-0. I should say the crowd for this one didn't look that great. Admittedly, the Chiefs haven't been in good form, so maybe the people and the weather conditions maybe not being that fine put people off, but I hope fans can keep getting out there to the Super Rugby Aotearoa games because I think the numbers are probably dwindling. There was always going to be the case, but I still hope we can get at least next week's one against the Crusaders. Blues should be a bloody cracker. Yeah, the Chiefs actually did get some ball. They weren't able to crack down the Hurricanes line. There were a lot of penalties early. The ref was definitely the star of the show. Neither side really wanted to kick for the sticks, which was interesting. Like Geordie Barrett at one point had a massive touch finder, which was some proper class, and he took a long shot at a drop goal with the wind at his back, but he pushed it wide. Eventually, the Chiefs did take an easy 3 points just on the quarter of an hour mark to make it 7-3. The Hurricanes had a kickable penalty a few minutes later, but then they called for a scrum. They went through some phases, had a cross kick. The cross kick was too big. They had a scrum. The Chiefs got a scrum penalty. It was kind of just nobody wanted to take the points. The Chiefs scrum kind of got them out of jail a few times. They were pretty dominant in that area. There were knock-ons, there were penalties, there were scrums, there were resets. That was the story of the game for like the first half an hour after that initial penalty and try. There was a long stoppage. I think it was Akoi that went off on a stretcher, but he gave the crowd the thumbs up, which was nice to see. And eventually the Hurricanes kicked the penalty on 36 minutes. So we're jumping all the way ahead to 36 minutes to make it 10-3. And then, about a minute later, Duplessis Karifi actually went over for a try. A very welcome try. Dane Coles got an intercept in the build-up. And a few phases later, the Canes were right on the doorstep. And essentially, Karifi was just able to push over the line. So it was 17-3 at right before half-time. And definitely the moment of the half, and it's a penalty, which you might think, geez, why is a penalty at the moment of the half when you got two tries? Geordie Barrett lines up a shot at goal. They said it was 58 metres. It wasn't straight out in front. It was a bit of an angle. He's in his own half. He puts his boot through that ball, and it clean goes over. It is one of the best penalty kicks you will see. It's kind of like a Francois Steyn moment. Like, man, what a kick. So it's 20-3 at halftime, and the Chiefs are looking in all kinds of trouble. Halftime stats, the Canes have had more run meters, 215 to 174, but the Chiefs have had more ball and more possession. Penalties conceded is 8 apiece, so again, it's pretty high. And knock-ons are 3 apiece, so there's a lot of stoppages in this game. Second half, The Chiefs, when they're 17 points behind, decide to go for a penalty, which is maybe a good move to get the scoreboard clicking over because they hadn't scored since that first penalty back in the first quarter of the first half. So it's 20 points to 6. Geordie Barrett ends up getting a finger in the eye from D-Mac, which is not something you want to see after he's having a pretty good game. It's totally accidental though. Geordie Barrett's going in for a tackle on D-Mac. Geordie Barrett slips and D-Mac's trying to go for a fend, and just the random combination of those two events ends up with Geordie getting a finger in the eye, which is not something you want to see in slow motion, but he kept on playing, which is good for him. And then maybe it was the finger in the eye that did it, but a few minutes later, Geordie kicks the ball from his 22 out on the full, not knowing that they had taken it back in, because there was a line out for the Hurricanes set just outside the 22. It's maybe an example of poor communications from the team. Maybe it's the ref's fault. But either way, the line out was apparently, according to the ref, technically outside the 22. They took it back, and when he booted it, they had to take it back inside. So, yeah, not ideal. And then to make matters worse, Scott Scruffton gets yellow carded for an offside tackle from the resulting line out. The Chiefs go for a scrum, and then, of course, they knock it on. Then the Chiefs go through a huge bunch of phases once they get the ball back, and then they lose the ball. It's pretty painful from the Chiefs, and then Sam Cane makes things worse by kind of an innocuous late shove on Perenara, which gets penalised. It's about as soft as it gets, but sure enough, that's what it was. And then the game just looks even worse for the Chiefs at this point. Remember, they're a man up, and Funfake gets a try from a set piece scrum. I think it was Jamie Booth who had the line break, and Geordie Barrett had a little last pass, and Funfake had a pretty decent run where he got 2 opportunities and 2 tries. So they missed the conversion, but it's 5 points, so it's 25 points to 6. They've scored with a man down, and the Hurricanes are looking like a pretty tough team to beat, and the Chiefs are just looking on attack absolutely hopeless, to be fair. But they do manage to come back. 63 minutes, the Chiefs attack. D-Mac knocks it on, but it goes backwards. And then they go back for a infringement. D-Mac must be frustrated, so he takes it quickly. And Scott Scruffton has just come back on from his yellow card, and it's towards the Hurricanes goal line, so he should be behind the goal line, but he helps make the tackle, and it's a bit high. He makes it without retreating back, because it's a quickly taken penalty. He's got to be behind the goal line, so he's not. So I guess it stopped the try, potentially, and the ref gives him a second yellow card on 65 minutes. If I was a Canes fan, I'd probably be pretty annoyed at that one. But it didn't cost them a result in the end. But still, it's a penalty try, so the Chiefs are on the board in terms of the tries, looking like potentially making a comeback. And then the Chiefs get held up not too long later, and eventually Boshier goes over on 77 minutes on the left-hand corner. They'd gone through a heap of phases. Unfortunately for them, they missed the conversion, which would have made it winnable, but they at least made it drawable at 25 points to 18. But they weren't able to really even push for a try at the end. The Hurricanes ended up having the ball for at least I think the Chiefs were attacking, but they knocked it on. And was it not Sean Stevenson? Wainui. I think he knocked it on, and then the Hurricanes had like maybe a minute and a half to just kill off, and they did it pretty easily. So good for the Chiefs to get back in with bonus point range, but they had none from 4. Yeah. It's not looking good for Warren Gatland, guys. He's going to be in for a lot of criticism. Run meters 472 to 421. That's in the Chiefs' favour. The Chiefs had 58% possession, 63% territory. Yeah, but their attack just looked poor. And when you look at the tackling, the Hurricanes were able to tackle at 90%, which shows you how in control they were. Despite the Chiefs having all that ball, they were able to kind of shut them down. The Chiefs, on the other hand, only tackled at 79%, which is pretty poor. Lineouts, Chiefs one was pretty good, 94%. They had a lot more lineouts, though, and the Hurricanes was 66%, which still remains a problem for them. Penalties conceded was 14 to the Hurricanes, 11 to the Chiefs, so a high penalty count, but not as high as that first half, but still. Knock-ons, Chiefs 11. Now, I don't know what Warren Gatland's supposed to do with that. If you guys are just dropping the pill, 11 knock-ons to the Hurricanes 4. That's absolutely coach killer, some of those. Geordie Barrett was probably star of the show for the Canes. He had 56 run meters, 3 defenders beaten. I know he didn't score a try, but that penalty was probably better than any of the tries that were scored, honestly. It was a thing of beauty. And Princep made 21 out of 23 tackles. They were required to be pretty solid on defence. Brown for the Chiefs had 10 from 12. I think Kane had 10 from 13. So also those guys putting in pretty good efforts. But yeah. Not the best game of rugby you will ever see, but it did have a close finish. It did have one of the best penalties you will ever see kicked. And yeah, if you are going to watch the game, maybe skip to about 50 minutes. Watch the first 5 minutes, and then maybe skip to the second half. That's all right. Can't complain, man. It's a game of rugby, which is on. We were without rugby for such a long time, so it was just good to see a game. And yeah, have a wee drink during that as well. But you guys let me know what your thoughts on the game, what your thoughts on the red card. Geordie's performance. How good is he looking for the All Blacks 15 jersey at the moment compared to D-Mac, who he was up against in this one with the old finger in the eye? Did you think the Chiefs potentially could back into this one, or do you think 18-25 flatters the Chiefs? You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.